I'm Mike Campigotto. I moved to North Bay about 35 years ago, newly retired. I grew up in an alcoholic home. My father was an alcoholic and had many assorted problems. And I think that growing up in that environment where there was disruption in the household all the time, where there was not a lot of peace and quiet, I think really for me was a major lesson in how a family can come together despite these kind of big challenges. My mother was essentially the rock that really focused and helped her three children sort of overcome a lot of the challenges that we grew up with because our family was dysfunctional. You know, it was dysfunctional to a degree where my dad was often involved with the wrong crowd in southern Ontario and wasn't around a lot. We didn't have a lot of cash, so we led sort of a meager lifestyle. And I think that my mother did an unbelievable job in sort of protecting us from a lot of that negativity. None of my siblings have any sort of alcohol or drug dependencies. That sort of broke the cycle through her dedication to us. It also shaped and molded me personally to value the family and the sanctity of that unit. And that in any sort of relationship, whether it's a husband and a wife or a complete family of spouses and children, that along the way, sometimes you have to carry more than your load. A lot of people say relationships in such are a 50-50 equation, that you all have to put in 100%. And I tell my kids that that's not necessarily true all the time. Sometimes you carry the other person for a while. Sometimes you have to put in 130% because somebody's only able to put in 70%. And that's what it means to be part of a family, to be able to cover each other and carry each other as required. I think that experience really forged my personality, my priorities around my family. Our household is dramatically different from the one I grew up in. I tell my kids that for us, it's a priority to have shalom in the home. This is a sort of a retreat when you come home from school or from work, that your home is where you recharge, and that we have to care for each other in that regard. And sometimes we put in more than everybody else does in the group, and we get the same when we're sort of unable to contribute. So I think, again, for my family, the family that I was a part of as a child was a rough and difficult situation. However, I wouldn't trade that in because it really shaped me and helped me to understand, what the real priorities and what the real potential would be of a family that was balanced and where everyone was really educated enough and helping each other enough so that no one falls into any of those kind of the traps that I grew up in. I think in some ways was a blessing, my upbringing and my situation, because I don't think I'd be the person I was today if I hadn't gone through it. So I'm Mike Campigotto. Thanks for listening to my family stories, and I am a proud supporter of the Hands organization.